Hello! Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly episode 25. Woo! We finally hit big 2-5er. And look at all of this stuff we're talking about today. When I said we were going to be doing the NES Famicom stuff, I wasn't joking. And we're also going to do the Super Nintendo stuff too. Just to get that out of the way. This is going to be a very comprehensive discussion on my NES Famicom collection. I've actually split it into two separate piles. And I think what I'm going to do, just to make this simpler on me, is I am going to go through all the stuff over here that I have not played and just say what it is. Majority of it is Famicom stuff, and the majority of it is for Femtendo. So I'm going to pull up my email, so that way I can at least attempt to say these names right. Let's go ahead and get started with all of the stuff I have yet to play on the NES and Famicom. So we'll start here. Here is Soisho no Dragon. This is complete to the best of my knowledge. So it comes with a little strategy guide as well as the disc in its original container. Really cool to have this. It was the last one I needed for Nintendo. I'm going to just make myself a little bit more out of focus, so this is a little bit more in focus. So this is the Magic of Scheherazade, a Culture Brain. One of the couple of NES games I have both the Famicom and the NES version. Same with the Guardian Legend. This one I got from a friend online. Here is Psycho Caliber. This has nearly everything. On the back, it actually does show that there's a sticker set that I did not get with this one. I didn't realize it at the time. I meant to order there was two of these, and I meant to order the one that had it all, but I didn't realize it, and it was too late. So, oh well. Parodius Da for the Famicom. I can't believe I have this. I got this for $1 less than buying the cart by itself. That just blows my mind. I want to get the Super Famicom ones next. And then we've got Manhattan Police, a family trainer game that Bandai did. You can see BB Betty there on the far right. That's why I have this. This is the limited run version of the re-release of Metal Storm. So I'll go ahead, because I don't remember if I actually did the box, but this is a silver cart that was limited run color. There was a couple others. This re-release is the Japanese version on a North American cartridge, so it's a little bit harder from my understanding. And then this is the complete in box Dragon Warrior 2. Has everything inside. All of the Dragon Warrior games came from JD. So thank you, my friend. And here is Dragon Warrior 3, which I have not got into yet. But pretty cool having these. The other two I'll show off when we get to the things I have played. Alright. Just kind of rapid firing here. Here is Dead Zone, a graphic adventure by Sunsoft. You can see Mary Brand there. She's the reason why I have this. This is Moyo no Twin Bee. The pink ship down there is Win Bee and is piloted by Whip. When we get to Twin Bee 3, both of them reappear, so that's why I have this. This is Shin Onigashimi Part 1. This one's kind of neat because the manual inside is like a parchment. Pretty cool. You hit the first point in the video where I need to actually look up something. This is Nakayama Miho no Tomimeki High School. So this is a graphic adventure slash dating sim, which is one of the earliest ones that have been made, especially on the Famicom. That one's not complete. There was some other stuff that came with that, including a phone card where you could call and Miho would tell you tips. But I don't have any of that. Alright, so this one, The Cursed Treasure of Cleopatra. I don't remember exactly what the Japanese is, but that's what the company that sold it to me is telling me, so that's what I'm telling you. It's an interesting choice that Square printed the manual without color. The DOG label was kind of a cheaper label for them. Okay, this is Kiki Kakai Doto Hen. That's Soyo-chan on the front. This is not a direct port of the arcade game, but instead it's kind of like a more Zelda-like game, which is pretty neat. This is Titanic Mystery something, and unfortunately the sun is really making it hard to see. This was a port of a PC game that Activision did, but they added in women for really no explainable reason. They just did it. This is Shinjuku Cho Koen Satsujin Jiken. This is the first of that series. Data East made, I think, 3 of these on the Famicom. 2 of them are on the disk system, the third is a cart, if I remember correct. So this is the first game. And we have Kokona World by Soulful. This is a rather interesting game. Kokona just kind of gets hungry and has demands throughout the game, and the player needs to help her reach those or she'll get cranky with you. This is Ganbare Goemon Gaiden 2. The original Goemon games for the Famicom were more action heavy, but this is an RPG. Here's Magic John, aka Totally Rad. You can see that they really did some work to the main character to make him radical yo in America. The AC kicked on, so it hasn't been too loud, so we'll hope that it's not a bother. Alright, I need to pull up what these are. Here is the third Jajamaru game, Jajamaru Ninpo Cho. This is an overhead RPG. Actually, I think this is the action RPG. This is the action RPG, and Sakura is playable in it, which is really rad. And then there is Ninja Jajamaru-kun Ginga Daisaiku-sen. And this is like a Super Mario Bros. 3-like game, which is pretty cool. And Sakura's playable in this. You can also see that it's kind of set in space for some reason. Don't know why. This is Just Breed. This is a late Init RPG. I don't know a whole lot about it. It wasn't released in America, I can tell you that. Alright, that's all the really tall carts that I played, so we'll just dive into this small pile here. And I say small pile with a big smile on my face because there's like 50 of these here. Here's Fire Emblem Gaiden. I haven't played this in its original format, so that's why it's here, but I have played its remake, which is Fire Emblem Echoes on the 3DS, which is amazing. It's really close to being my second favorite game in the series. Here's Twin B3, which I talked about a little bit earlier. Here is Konami YY World. This is kind of a strange game because Konami apparently got the rights to include King Kong and Mikey from the Goonies 2 in here for some reason. So, odds are good this will never be re-released in its original format, at least. But I do believe they did remake it on mobile, and they did take those two characters out and swap in a couple other Konami characters. With YY World 2, they don't have that problem. They just got rid of Mikey and King Kong altogether. Speaking of the Goonies 2, here it is. Amazingly, I have not played this game. This is Konami Sports in Seoul. This was based on the Olympics in 1988. Yeah. This was released in America as Track and Field 2. And there's a couple events where women participate. And then this is Nightmare Maze of Gallius. Nightmare 2, I should say. This is a sequel. Normally I don't cover MSX ports, but this one is different enough, and it has a playable woman named Aphrodite. And for Konami, that's kind of rare for the Famicom. Here's Challenger. This is an early Hudson game, probably the second one they released on the system. It's actually kind of a very interesting game because it's got like 4 different game modes, but one of them is like this huge expanse. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but it wasn't lack of trying. This one I'm gonna need to look up, so 1 second. Gina no Yogin from the Legend of Baluk. This is Vic Tokai's first game on the Famicom, and in a nice little twist, you do rescue a princess, but she then follows you to the final spot in the game, and she does some magic to finish the game up. So at the very least, she's not idle once you rescue her. This is King's Knight. This is an early Square game. It's an overhead vertical shooter, but you are a knight and the other 3 characters that you can see a little bit on the right. And then in the middle is Princess Claire, which is why I have this card. Here's Layla. This is a DB Soft game, very early on. Very cool concept. You play as Layla, who is the redhead, and you rescue your partner, I think is Elise. She's on the right, and then the two of you work together to beat the bad guy in the middle, whose name I don't remember, because that's not who I'm studying. Another early game starring a woman is Kemco's Space Hunter. This one is a little bit more Zelda-esque, that it's an overhead perspective, but it's definitely more old school than Zelda is. There's not a lot in the background. Alright, I'm going to have to remember what this one is. Alright, this is Softball Tengoku. Yes, there are animals in it, Finn. Yeah. This was localized and drastically changed when it came to America as Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball, which I'm going to have to potentially get because localization was distinct enough to justify it. And here's one that's going to twist up my tongue unless I actually look it up. This is $1 Million Kid 100 Man. I just love the name of this game. That was localized as Casino Kid. This is Super Dynamics Badminton. This was by VAP Software. And Pax Stopnica, who did Nintendo's Volleyball, was responsible for the coding of this game, but they apparently were very lazy on it. They only made one player sprite and allowed you to pick male or female, but it doesn't change. This is Miracle Rompets Adventure in 2100. This game is a Micronix joint, so it's not great. In fact, I've heard that it's pretty bad, but I picked it up anyway because there's a young woman piloting that mech. This is Sugoro Quest. This is a Technos game that's not Kunio-kun. My understanding is that it's like a board game of sorts. Alright, speaking of Kunio-kun, I need to look at all of these because there's a lot of them. This is Kunio-kun Neketsu Ko Shinkyoku Sorike Daiundokai. I apologize for my more than likely bad Japanese pronunciation. This is one of the sports challenge games that Kunio-kun has in its very, very long Famicom history. There's more Kunio-kun games than anything else on the Famicom. This one is Kunio Nekatsu Shinkiryoku, aka this is Crashin' the Boys. This is the most successful Kunio-kun game, if my memory serves me correct, and kind of set the stage for the rest to follow. This is Kunio Ike Ike Neketsu Hakibu. This one's cool. This one's really cool because there's a playable women's team on it. Last but not least, in the Kunio-kun run of games I haven't played, is Kunio-kun Ji Dai Getki Dio Zinin Shiryu Go. This one is a period play that plays like River City Ransom, but it's set in like feudal Japan. This is Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom, one of the only graphic adventures that got localized for American audiences. This is also an MSX port, but they did enough to it to justify me getting it. Here is Tongue Twister, game that even in its English version is difficult to pronounce. This is Zexus. Zexus. Kame no Ongaishi, or as it was known in America, Zexus. I really do not know why Hudson didn't come up with a different name. Takahashi Meijin no Baguette Honey. Adventure Island, aka Takahashi Meijin, had an anime series in Japan, and that is a game based on that. And Honey is the bee character that you play as at the beginning of the game. This is Castle Quest, which I believe I did this joke when I showed it the first time, not to be confused with the American Castle Quest, which was Castle Excellent in Japan. This is a chess-like game that Hudson did. This is Gardic Gaiden, aka the Guardian Legend. This is the Japanese version. This is my favorite box art of all time. Alright, we're whittling down this pile. This is Jajamaru no Daiboken. This is the second Ninja Jajamaru game. It's a little bit more platformery than being like a pure arcade game. This is Valkyrie no Boken. This is the first playable woman original to the Famicom, and it's just really cool to have that cart. I have an interest in the Valkyrie series anyway, thanks to Legend of Valkyrie. This is on Yanko Town. This actually is the first game where a female character stars on the Famicom, and it's original to the Famicom. This is The Wing of Medulla. This was an early Sunsoft game that stars a woman. This is Glory to Heracles 2. This has a playable woman in the roster. She's on the left. and probably a woman to rescue because the first game did. This is Attack Animal Gakuen. I love the title of this one. This is a Space Harrier clone where you play as a schoolgirl. This is Valis, the Phantasm Soldier. This is a port, but the Valis series is so prominent, and this is pretty original, that I feel comfortable covering it. This is Arabian Dream Scheherazade. It's the Japanese version of the Magic of Scheherazade. This is Horu no Ken. This was released in America as Flying Dragon, the Secret Scroll. This is Dragon Quest III. This is Dragon Quest II. This is another Dragon Quest game that JD gave me, so thank you. Here's Final Fantasy III. Which was never released in America until the DS. And here's Final Fantasy II, which wasn't released in America until the PS1. This is Quinty. It was localized as Mindle Palace, and I believe Hudson did the localization, but Namco released it originally. That was one of Game Freak's first games. This is Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga. This is an Atlas title, but it's published by Namco. Atlas didn't start publishing themselves until Shin Megami Tensei started on the Super Nintendo. And last but not least in the pile of games that I've picked up that I've not played yet is Erika to Satoru no Yume Boken. This is another Atlas game that Namco published. It's a graphic adventure of sorts, I think. It's been a while since I've seen any coverage on it. And as I said when I did the pickup video, it's more well known for its programmer rant than the actual content of the game itself. Well, that's everything I haven't played, so let's talk about the stuff I have. I could think of no better place to start than with Super Mario Bros. 2. This was the very first game that I purchased for myself back in 1988. That same cart. There's a delightful story which you can check out on my blog about me picking it up, but it's a very important game to me. It's the oldest game that I own, that I've concurrently owned over the years. So since 1988 to 2021, I've had it. So I adore that cart. It's a monumental artifact of my gaming history, I suppose. The only thing that I have is older is the actual NES hiding up there somewhere. Here's Contra. I love this game. I love the Famicom version more, I discovered. But I want to hold on to this. If I get around to doing Culture Clash as a book series, I'm going to need the carts. So, here's Little Nemo, the Dream Master. I haven't played a bunch of this, and this is actually the second time I've owned it. But it's a really cool game, and I need to get into it and better understand it. Alright, Mega Man 3. One of my favorite games of all time. It's in my top 15. In fact, it might be the highest rated NES game on my list. I bought this in 1992 probably from Kmart, complete in box. I don't have the box anymore, but I still have the manual. And I've actually got like a tactics article on it on Levels Plus that I did for my old blog, which was hosted on Tripod. So you can check out my hip strategies for playing that game. I still think it's the best Mega Man game by a long shot. This is arguably Sunsoft's best game that they've ever made, which is Batman. It's got one of the best soundtracks of all time, and it plays pretty well and it looks great on the system. Here's Monopoly. I love this version of Monopoly, probably the most of anything about this game. I love the music, I love the way that the game plays, it just all clicks together really nicely. And then here's California Games. I have a lot of fondness for Epic's series of games. I played winter games when I was a kid. It was in the computer lab when we had science class, and then when I got my Commodore 64, I got winter games and summer games too with it. And then I rented California Games when I was a kid, and I picked up my own copy, and I'm very pleased about it. So this is the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, complete in box. I'm just beyond myself that I have this. I got it for less than just picking up the card itself. When I played through this game, I played this version. I think it's better than the NES version, not only on a soundtrack level, but just the difficulty's a little bit fairer. Here is my box Dragon Warrior 4. I haven't played it on the NES, I will say that, so I am slightly cheating, but I played it on the DS, which is a lovely remake. The only issue with the remake in its North American version is they cut the party chat out, so that's a bit of a bummer. And here's the original Dragon Warrior, which I have beaten this on this original format, and it's just beyond my wildest expectations that I have it in complete form. I also have the strategy guide that came with Nintendo Power for it, which is pretty rad. Both of those are from JD, as was this copy of Legend of Zelda. Now this is the second issuing of Legend of Zelda in terms of the box, but in terms of the cart, it is the gold cart. So it's the original cart in the second box. The last boxed NES game I have is Ice Hockey. The cart inside is pretty poor though, so I want to get a nice looking cart and replace it at some point. But I love Ice Hockey, it's one of my favorite sports games of all time. Here's Super Mario USA. This is the Japanese release of Super Mario Bros. 2, because when this game came out in Japan originally, it was Doki Doki Panic, completely different. Here is Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light. I've dabbled with this on the Famicom Switch app, so that's why I included it, because I actually have some playtime with it. Here is Super Mario Brothers, the game that got me to be as into video games as I am. Donkey Kong and Zaxxon were also very important, but it was getting the NES and getting this game that brought me on this path. And then Super Mario Bros. 3 is, I believe, my favorite Mario game. I know that just sounds so funny to say it like that, but I moved my list around a bit, and Odyssey was my favorite Mario game, but I think it fell underneath Mario 3. Marvelous game, still the best 2D Mario, and apparently, if my memory's not wrong, it's the best Mario game ever made. Here's Donkey Kong, the game that the Famicom was designed to play. And look at, like, literally going from Donkey Kong to Super Mario Bros. 3. That just really shows how much that system changed. Here is the Famicom version of Dragon Quest. And Mappy Land. I played this quite a bit when I was a kid, and then I had the NES cart. When I replayed it as an adult, I didn't get all that into it. But now I have the Japanese cart because of Mapiko, and I can play it on the Namco NES Famicom collection that they released. This is NES Open Tournament Golf in America, but it's Mario Open Golf in Japan. Funny story about this game is I've always wanted to play this, to the point that, like, every time I saw it, it's like, I would like to play that, but I never bought it. So when the NES Switch app added it, I finally played it and I didn't like it. So that's why expectations are bad. Here's Rockman 4. This is my least favorite Mega Man game on the NES, but it has Kalinka as a major character. That's why I have it. Final Fantasy. This is the one Final Fantasy game I've nearly beaten. I got to Chaos. I have to pause because I think of the Final Fantasy Origin trailer when I say Chaos now. And didn't win, got beaten, and somehow or another I didn't save it properly. So when I started it back up the next day, my save was corrupted. So I've never gone back through because it's just a lot of work to do that with that game. But maybe if Square could do the pixel remaster on Switch, might replay. Here's the Japanese version of Dragon Quest IV. Here's Ninja Jajamuru-kun, the original one. I actually have played this now, thanks to Jalico's current owners, City Connection, putting it on the NES Online app for the Switch. It's a fine game. I wouldn't say it's anything amazing or remarkable, but it's perfectly adequate as an arcade action game. This is Adventure Islands, aka Takahashi Maijin. This is a spin-off from the Wonder Boy series. I think it's fine. It's not my favorite game. And I get to deal with the convoluted localization history of the damsel in distress. And I'm going to probably not bother with the other Adventure Island games on the NES or Famicom, and just write a bigger article on that whole mess. Here is a Mach Rider. I have this because of the Versus Mach Rider article. Here's Cluku Land and Bubbles, who is our first female primary character on the Famicom. Here's Ice Climber. This is the first playable woman on the Famicom, although she's player 2. That's Nana. She is on the cover, though. City Connection could be the, if I remember right, the first playable woman period on the Famicom, but this is a port of the arcade game. That's Clarice driving her car. Here's Metal Gear. There's women in this game, that's why I have it. I don't like Metal Gear. I don't like Kojima's politics regarding gender very much, so that's why I don't have any other Metal Gear game. There's an article on it if you want to read more. Here is River City Ransom, aka Downtown Nekatsu something. I don't have it in front of me anymore. I played the Game Boy Advance port of this, but not actually the original, so I should try that sometime. Here is Meta Fight, aka Blaster Master. One of the most interesting localizations on the NES Famicom. Culture Clash on that right here. Here's Ninja Gaiden, the original one. This is here because of Eileen, who's an important NPC. We're almost done, just the Famicom disk systems to go. And here is The Legend of Zelda, the second best Zelda still to this day. I'm actually in the middle of replaying it right now and having the time of my life. It's so good. I love this game. It's so cool to have it on the Famicom disk system. Here's Kid Icarus. I'm not the biggest fan of this game, but it is important because it's the first villain that Nintendo put out that was a woman, with Medusa. And Palutena is also in there, and she's pretty prominent. She's actually in the Japanese title. Here's the Famicom disk system version of Castlevania. I can't even believe I have all the Castlevania games on the Famicom in their complete format. So rad, I love it. The manual art here is amazing. And while I'm digging through, here is Simon's Quest. Just, my mind is blown every time I see them. Since I showed off Zelda, here's my least favorite Zelda game in the entire canon, Zelda 2. Just here because of Zelda. This is volleyball, as you can tell from the front. There's female players in it, and I actually need to write a proper article on this for Nintendo Book 1. Because I feel like I'm skirting the issue. And here is Metroid, Star of the Hour, with Metroid Dread just getting announced. When I get done with Zelda, I'm going to start my Metroid run. And start with I'm going to play the Famicom Disk System version through the Famicom Switch app. I'm very excited. And then last but not least is tennis, which I have for Versus Tennis. Again, just to have a visual representation of something. I'm not doing that with golf because women's golf is a different game than golf. Versus Tennis and Versus Mach Rider are effectively the same game, just with graphical changes. Woo! That was a lot. Lots and lots. Like, just looking at this pile right now is just mind-blowing. But there's some Super Nintendo stuff we'll quickly run through. Speaking of the Star of the Hour, here is my copy of Super Metroid, my second favorite game of all time. I'm really tempted to get a Super Famicom in-box version. It's not as expensive as it is here, but it's still expensive. Here's UN Squadron, a game we'll probably never see re-released because in Japan it's based on the anime manga Area 88. I don't have a lot of Super Nintendo carts because like majority of the heavy hitters were released on the Super NES Mini or on the Virtual Console, in contrast to the NES, which just has a lot of games that never got ported properly to anything modern. So that's why I only have these two. I used to have Earthbound, I used to have Final Fantasy III, I used to have Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen, I used to have Final Fantasy II, I used to have Secret of Mana and Secret of Evermore, Chrono Trigger, I used to have like Yoshi's Island, but like most of those games I've gotten on other formats, so I've just sold them because they were worth money. I got lots of other stuff with them. So Super Famicom wise, I've got Soul Blader, the Japanese version of Soul Blazer, which I need to get back into when I get my Super Nintendo hooked back up, because I'm borrowing Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia from someone, and I would really like to get them back to that person. And this is Terranigma, the third game in that series that we never got. But it did get released in Europe, but it's expensive. And my boxed Chrono Trigger from Japan, my third favorite game of all time. Love this. This was my first import. Long ago. I've had that for probably about a decade now. We're going to just stop here. I feel like 45 minutes, 40 minutes probably by the time I edit it, of me talking about all this is a lot. There's a lot of links I shared with you, and they're all down below in the description, so you can just easily click on them. There's a lot to look at, so we'll just let this be the episode, and I'm going to record Evolve as a separate video in the near future, talking about its publication, and I also want to include some fan art that I'm not going to have in the book that I feel is among my best work. I just don't want to run into copyright issues, so we'll just do that as a separate thing, and it'll be a video and it'll be great. So thank you so much for watching episode 25 of this show. It's kind of hard to believe that I'm at 1/4 of 100 now. I hope that you're enjoying this, and I'm enjoying doing it, and I think that I'm getting better. I feel much more open and engaged and energetic when I do these than when I started, which I think there was a lot of nervousness still. I'm feeling comfortable in front of the camera now, which is really nice. Next week we're gonna do my halfway through the year video. So that will be reflecting on 2021 from January to June, as well as all of the games I've played. And I believe that this will be the first time I'm going to do all of it in video format. So that will be kind of fun. So I hope you'll tune in for that. Until then, take care, friends.